Old school RuneScape. What can I say about the game? It's nostalgic, it's comforting, it's really good. This game is like a cure for modern games that seem to actively suck and really spark some creativity with people who play it. I have played old school RuneScape every now and then, but I always got bored ever since I got my Questscape. But all my time has been for nothing, as I want to cover up what I've been doing these last 2 years. I got 399s, farming, cooking and strength quite recently, received a few pets and just been making some money. I also got these lovely plushies as I had to get something to remember about Neve and Bob since their unfortunate demise. But enough about me. Here's why old school RuneScape is pretty much the only thing that keeps my faith in modern games. Old school RuneScape came to be after Jagex managed to ruin the main game with terrible updates, so with a second chance, this game has been running over 10 years and it's been lovely ever since. This game lets you do whatever you want. It doesn't force you to do anything that you don't want to do. It isn't like certain games where the game forces you to play how they want. For example, if you don't like questing, the game doesn't force you to do it, it only just means that you can't do certain activities like certain bosses and raids. But that's what I like about it, you are free to do whatever you feel like doing. Want to just chop down the same tree for the next 200 hours? Go ahead. Want to just create a niche Ultimate Iron Man account where your account gets deleted if someone even sneezes on you? You are free to do so. It's so great to just let players decide what they want to do and not force them to follow a certain meta and playstyle that we not all will enjoy. Like you will not find me doing some tick manipulation to get higher XP, because I value my frists. And another great point for old school RuneScape is the developers. This game is managed by the player base with posts that can decide what updates come to this game, and the dev team really listens to player feedback. Like for example, last year they proposed adding a new prayer book for Descent Treasure 2 rewards, but because the prayers were frankly way too overtuned or pointless, it would have added massive power creep to the game, so Jagex decided to scrap the idea entirely. But now they're discussing adding god alignments for prayers where you can choose 3 different prayers from 3 different gods with each offering their unique abilities. But again, it would have made massive power creep again and not be entirely fun or useful to use, so now they're being reworked into something more healthy for the game at the time of writing this script. Another plus is that this game doesn't have any microtransactions aside from bonds, which can offer membership towards the free-to-play players and some gold for you. So it's mainly a win-win situation for all parties involved. Compared to some other games like Fortnite, where the only way to get some sense of progression is to buy a battle pass and grind it for the next 2 to 3 months until you're sick and tired of the game. Everything you see around you must have been approved by the majority of the player base, and it shows how carefully the developers update the game. Not compared to something like Blizzard, where they refused to nerf obviously overpowered heroes and then cancel stuff just because it wasn't profitable enough. Yeah, fuck you still for cancelling the story mode. This game is just full of activities that you can do, but I'm gonna be honest here, not all of them are that fun. You got your basics like melee stats, which are useful to level up if you want to do some PvM activities. Prayer is essentially required if you don't wish to be run down upon without your protection prayers, and sometimes being one-shot in certain encounters like with this big guy. Then there's range, which should be obvious enough what it does, and magic, which is a bit expensive to level up, but unlock so many different teleports to different places, utility spells and some combat spells, but most importantly, you get to use ancient magics, which has traumatized this entire player base with one simple sound. Fishing is a pretty chill skill, although slow to level up. Crafting is really useful if you want to craft some items not so that GE, but then there are skills like fire making that is the most pointless skill in the entire game, and there is a meme about Nova leveling rune crafting, but it's really true. Rune crafting is just a skill that isn't enjoyable to level up due to poor XP rates. But at the end of the day, it really depends on the person. I enjoy cooking and farming, while some people might consider them boring skills, and that is completely fine.
I gotta go in for you, just give me more beer and I'll fucking give you 5k for it.
Let's move away from skills to talk about my personal favorite activity, questing. To be fair, not that many people like questing, but that is one of my favorite things to do in this game. as they break up the grind and you get to experience proper adventure and learn more about the lore of this game, and trust me, it's really good. Like, if you paid a little bit of attention, you will know why the skeleton assholes called Macharat do their evil stuff. It's because they need to become stronger and do their rituals. They need to sacrifice the weakest to keep their immortality. And the dragons you see just standing around are actually Dragonkin experiments. And the old school exclusive quests are really great, so I recommend just doing them all. Not only for great stories, but also for some great rewards, as a lot of the game content is locked behind quests like some raids. And you are rewarded with juicy XP, some gear upgrades and other useful items. But hey, if you don't like quests, I recommend at least doing this recently released quest about frogs, as it's the funniest quest they've ever released. It takes around 10 minutes to complete, and trust me, you will not regret completing it. And finally, what can I say is the main appeal of old school RuneScape is the combat. It's surprisingly deep for just a simple point and click game, as it starts out fairly simple, like just click on the goblin to kill it. 2. I must change my protection praise every 0.2 seconds, complete a captcha puzzle, hit the boss with Band of Scotch for special attack only for it to miss while dodging kamikaze box, and maybe, just maybe, kill it. The gradual build up for these harder bosses is just done right, as the game slowly triggers you into learning its mechanics, which then throws these challenging encounters, as some bosses are fairly simple, protect from whatever attack it uses, and sometimes change your gear to accommodate the weakness the boss has, to literally having a seizure with praise when you're fighting this ugly fish. For me personally, Desert Treasure 2 bosses are a bit too much, with previously mentioned captcha part during middle of the boss fight to a siren sanity meter. This is actually one of the most annoying mechanics in the game. But that is fine, as the game doesn't force me to fight them after the quest. And then there are the raids, which is the most fun I've had with this game, as they sometimes have challenge rooms you need to complete in order to fight the boss, and then the bosses are one of the most engaging encounters you can have. Like Tombs of a Mascot has become one of my favorite pieces of content in the game, and that has cured my boredom with the game. And as you gradually improve as a player, encounters that you found hard to complete becomes a lot easier, like Forka back in the day used to fucking kick my ass with his high damage, dodging acid pulls while staying on the move while he starts spitting fireballs like he's some rapper. But now I have no problem with him, and it's my favorite boss fight in the game, as he's just that fun to go against. And doing bossing gets you the big bucks, as they usually drop a lot more good stuff to sell, and sometimes you get a special unique which can either be a massive gear upgrade or just makes you richer. For example, Toak gives a rune pouch upgrade that can be bought from anyone that increases the capacity to hold runes from 3 to 4. And Forka drops his head, which can be used to upgrade your ranged backpack that recovers your arrows automatically to have a bigger chance of recovering them, and slightly increasing your range strength. There's also PvP, but it's mostly dead as there's a big skill ceiling, and I personally don't like it, so I just stick with PvE content. That also means wilderness is off limits for me.
Let me trim your SGS. This isn't a scam. Trust me.
Old School being an over 10-year-old game means that there's a lot of dead content and some very questionable players. Like the whole gold selling scene is like a virtual drug cartel situation where people are being threatened with real harm over virtual coins. And then there's the whole botting scene, which kind of ruins a lot of the money making methods for normal players, and the PvP scene can be a bit toxic, and I'd recommend asking advice on Reddit, as people there can be pricks. But these are just a handful of bad apples that don't ruin the overall player base, which is wonderfully welcoming, as there's so much fun content being created around this game. Like with the RuneScape free-to-play series, so if you want to have a cheerful and creative community, Old School RuneScape has that covered. Overall, I might be slightly biased as I've been playing RuneScape since I was a kid, but I started playing Old School when I was in college. It's both relaxing yet a sweat-inducing game that you don't run out of stuff to do anytime soon, especially if you aim to 100% the game, which hasn't been done to this day. Anyway, thank you all for watching, do leave a like if you want to see more RuneScape content, and have a nice day.
Where have you been? It's been days since I asked you to grab a bolt to fix the throttle, since it's been sticking lately.
Giving out free stuff in Lumbridge Castle.
Very fancy, but give me that bolt and let's get moving, as I am rather tired of people trying to sell me for 10k GP.